Thank you. Okay, we will now call this meeting of the Stonecrest Charter Commission to order, for October 22nd, 2024. Um, Secretary isn't in, so can we all just have a roll call for those who are present? Chairman Joel Thibodeau is present. Laurie Brown, Kirby Clements, Tanya Anderson, Dolores Washington,
Here.
Andre Stanton,
Also here.
LaShonda Walker.
Here.
Okay, and Mr. Denmark is not here. Okay, we do have a quorum of five of us. Okay, with today's agenda, next thing we go is to approve the agenda. I do want to propose a change to the agenda. I would like to remove item B, update on subcommittee activities. As you know, we are legally allowed to meet in groups less than the quorum, but we have not met to discuss any commission business or discuss any considerations that we're making or deliberations. So I will remove this update. I want to remove this update of subcommittee activities from the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the revised agenda, or are there any other revisions?
Motion to approve. A second. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor of approval of approving the agenda as edited, as modified, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same? Passes 4-0. Okay. Do we have any public comments? Okay. There are no public comments. However, I would like to read in a letter that I received from the Stonecrest Business Alliance. It was submitted to the city clerk's office, so it will be added to the record, but I did want to read it.
Oh, hey, how you
Welcome,
doing?
Mr. Denmark. Okay.
20.
The letter is dated today. It's to Joel Thibodeau, Chair, and the Stonecrest Charter Review Commission, City of Stonecrest. Dear Chairman Thibodeau and Stonecrest Charter Review Commission, I'm Stacy Thibodeau, Vice Chair of the Stonecrest Business Alliance, contacting you on our organization's behalf. As business stakeholders in the city of Stonecrest, we have a natural interest in the development of our governing document. Based on our members' interactions with city government under both the original charter and the current charter, we have observations and suggestions we would like you to consider as you deliberate revisions to the Stonecrest City Charter. Specifically, we ask that you consider the establishment of protocols for specific interaction between city consultants and both business and residential stakeholders regarding comprehensive plans and other development plans that must be brought to the council for approval or adoption. Several of our members have observed that other local government entities provide citizens with access to consultants along with contact information. Although we understand that consultants work with proprietary information, they are able to determine what can and cannot be shared with the public, which is still substantial information. Furthermore, we have observed that better stakeholder access to consultants provides a better final product that enhances both residential and business interests. We thank you for this opportunity to provide input to your deliberations and look forward to any future interactions as you deliberate revisions to the city charter. Sincerely, Stacy Thibodeau, Vice Chair, Stonecrest Business Alliance. Okay, so that is the public comment. I believe that as with all other types of public meetings, we do not respond to public comments when they're made. However, as we deliberate, we can always take those into it. All right, and this will be part of our record. This is that. Okay. Okay, moving on to our agenda items. Kirby has submitted, our secretary, Kirby Clements, has submitted to the city clerk minutes for July 17th, August 7th, and August 21st, 2024 meeting minutes. The only full meeting that we had was July 17th. Kirby did record that he gathered with no quorum for the 7th and the 21st. Okay, and July 17th meeting minutes were distributed some time ago. Does anybody have or recall any corrections or changes they want to make to those minutes? Okay, can we have a motion to approve the minutes of July 17th, August 7th, and August 21st?
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion?
Who did the first one? You said first,
LaShonda
and then you said, okay.
and Andre second. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All, any opposed? No. 4-0.
Hello?
Okay, adoption of the bylaws. I have a copy of the bylaws, here. We reviewed those in our first meeting. We were scheduled to adopt those bylaws in subsequent meetings. It's the first meeting that we've had a quorum. Okay, the only one thing that I know that we, changed to the bylaws, is that, our votes for making changes to the city charter has to be by supermajority as opposed to a simple majority. So and my understanding of that is that as we go through, like what we just did, our procedural votes, adopting, passing the minutes, adopting the agenda, those are simple majority. But any actions that we take to make changes to the charter must be approved by a supermajority of the commission. Which means 7? Is it 5 out of 9? No, it's,
Yeah, how many members?
we are supposed to have 9. Is it supposed to be 9?
Yeah.
We're supposed to have, so we have, we have 7 currently. We were supposed to get another from the state senate. We still don't have one.
It must be a majority not of those assembled.
Okay,
So, I mean, because otherwise we wouldn't have.
right. So supermajority of those assembled. Okay. So what it says,
Super majority of those assembled is, okay, then we have 5.
okay, it says the bylaws actually say 2/3 of the members present,
That's what.
as opposed to 50% plus 1 is 2/3 of all members present. Okay. All the rest, the bylaws, as Mayor Pro Tem stated, these bylaws were adopted from the DeKalb County's Charter Commission, which completed its work earlier this year or late last year. So we basically follow the same bylaws. Any questions regarding the bylaws? Questions, comments? Because I believe we went through them all.
We
went
did.
through them all.
Yeah, we just never adopted.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so can I get a motion to adopt the bylaws of the Stonecrest, DeKalb County, Georgia City Charter Review Commission?
Motion to adopt the bylaws.
Okay, so it's moved by Ms. Walker. And seconded. Sorry, what's your name?
Washington.
Ms. Washington. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of adoption of the bylaws, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, bylaws have been adopted. The vote of court is here. I could not get online earlier today to print out everything that I wanted to print. As I was stating before, our quorum form, I did have an opportunity to meet with Mayor Cobble. We met extensively on her concerns about the charter. And I also received an email from Councilman Terry Five regarding his concerns about the charter. Most of the concerns are wrapped up in the powers of mayor and council. Okay, so was that
Wrapped up in the.
in the powers of the mayor and the council and what constitutes the governing board? Okay, so we pull.
Hello.
Johnny, I'll be soon.
How you doing, sir?
Y'all couldn't hear me.
So I will, share these with y'all.
We're on C on the agenda.
Okay. So let's go with Mr. Five first. He's very simple. He doesn't have a whole lot. With Mr. Five, Councilman Five, all of his concerns are in sections, mostly in section 2 and 3. So the first concern of Mr. Five, one, the powers and duties of the mayor. He wants to create a new section 3 of the charter, which is executive branch, if I'm not mistaken. Go to that copy. And I'm working from the current charter. So I'm working from this copy, the current charter.
The current.
Yeah, because it contains, is what we're working from now. This is the document that has to be, that would be changed. The other two were for reference, the original charter and then Senate Bill 21. That document that caused the changes, but the current charter copy is what will be revised.
What page?
And so we're looking at, for the executive branch, section 3. That starts on page 23, but it doesn't really start till page 20. Okay, so Mr. Five wants to revise this section 3 to return the chairing of the council meetings to the mayor. Right now, the mayor serves as the ceremonial head of the city and as its official representative to federal, state, and local government bodies and officials. They
What-
sign.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Which number again?
Is
Number-
is no longer a number. It
Okay.
was in the original chart that
Okay,
the mayor would chair the meeting.
It's A though, are you talking about
A
section
down at
3
the
dot
bottom.
zero
Section-
1,
3.01,
and it's A, the mayor shall.
the
Thank you.
mayor shall,
thank you.
okay? And so it would be a new number one, or it'd be a new number under section A, that the mayor shall chair city council meeting, as it was in the previous chart.
Now, I just have a question. Did they give any specifics as to why? The desire to have the mayor?
I believe that they're trying to basically restore the power of the mayor to some extent as it was before. I don't believe it's completely restore all the powers of the mayor. But currently, the mayor attends city council meetings, has no say in city council meetings unless recognized by the pro tem. Has no vote in city council meetings and cannot bring an agenda item to the city council. So The mayor basically has no authority, no power in city council meetings as it stands now.
And I'm just, because I'm trying to get an understanding of it. So, structural wise, how is restoring the mayor to head the council meetings? How is that? What benefit? What do we gain by that?
I would believe that based on what I've heard from Mr. Bide and what I've heard from the public, is that it causes confusion, that the mayor is present, but is not a real, state, voting participant and does not chair any meeting. What they have also said is that in other cities, the mayor chairs meetings. The cities created around the same time that we do. The mayors continue to chair the meetings, not the pro tem, only in the mayor's
Just by way of information, I mean, Stonecrest is out of step with every other single city in the state of Georgia. There are about 530 some odd cities in the state of Georgia. And only one city where you don't have the mayor presiding over the meeting. One, the city of Stonecrest. And everybody appreciates that the charter was changed as a reaction to the last mayor. And the question becomes, was it a reaction? Was it an overreaction? We previously had a strong mayor form of government. The mayor was chief executive officer. The city manager reported to the mayor. The mayor voted. So the mayor ran the city. It was a strong mayor form of government. And the General Assembly felt that that was no longer appropriate, and our charter was changed. And the office of the mayor was stripped of many powers. Some feel that it was stripped of too many powers to the point now that the office of the mayor has become more or less useless. The mayor doesn't preside over the meetings like the mayor does all the other 500 or some odd cities in the state of Georgia. So maybe it was an overcorrection in the minds of many. I'm certainly not advocating one way or the other. This is for you folks to decide, for the people of the city to decide, for the General Assembly to decide. I just offer context. So some feel it was an overcorrection. And so maybe the office of the mayor needed to be reduced to certain powers, but maybe not all of those powers. And so now maybe we need to kind of achieve a middle ground where, the mayor is the only official in the city who's elected citywide. And so, and for all the people of the city of Stonecrest, not just in District 1 through 3, 4, 5, but all of us to elect a mayor, and that mayor has no ability to carry forth our mandate. You see the mayor in public said, "Mayor, I would like y'all to do this." Well, I'm only the mayor. I have zero power. And so, but we all elected you. Yeah, but I got no power under the charter. So maybe it was an overreaction to the previous administration. I mean, we need to restore the power of the mayor such that it's not a strong mayor anymore, but more in line with the other 500 some odd mayors in the state of Georgia.
And
That was helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, that was helpful for me because I was
Yeah.
gonna ask about context.
Yes, sir.
Like, why did it change? Because
Yes,
we're restoring,
Yes, sir.
but you helped me with regard to that. So that was, thank you.
And that was why I asked the question.
Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
I mean, for that reason, I mean, and especially the, a piece you stated that actually all other cities, the mayor does chair. And it's that kind of context, what I was looking for to understand.
And I'm city attorney for 11, 12, 13 cities, and I have clients as far south as Camilla. Now, my last one was in Florida, anything about the state of Georgia. And we're out of step. We're the odd one.
But were we out of step back when the mayor had the full panoply of powers that we?
Indeed, we weren't alone, because right now we're the only one where the mayor doesn't preside and have certain power. But before, we had a strong mayor form of government. Some other cities have a strong mayor. I'm city attorney in Jonesboro. They have a strong mayor. The mayor has a vote. The mayor vetoes. The mayor has a lot of power. And so Mayor Forest Park is a strong mayor form of government. I'm city attorney out there as well. And so you have some cities. Stonecrest was a strong mayor form of government. So while that is certainly not the trend, and you probably see that in maybe 1 in 10 cities, maybe fewer. And most of those cities are changing their charter to go to more of a city manager, city council form of government. And the mayor presides over the meetings, votes in the case of a tie, make certain appointments, and there's a ceremonial head of the city. That's what we need to get back in the minds of many, to having a more traditional mayor.
All right, that's what I was saying, because just so I'm clear then. Prior to one of the super strong form that we had, that was only held by a minority of
Yes.
cities to begin with.
Yes.
And the vast, we were out of step both times.
Indeed.
Once we were too strong and now we're too weak, and you gotta look at the middle.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Marshall.
I want to know, how do we get back into a popular stream, basically to restore an adequate plan for the mayor?
In my opinion, if that were the will of this body and the general, I would look at the typical mayor powers in other cities' charters. And that would be a good place to start. And see what are the traditional duties that mayors perform. And it's pretty much the same, very similar across the state. So there's many, and if I had known this would be the discussion, I would have brought some examples of charter provisions in other cities around the great state of Georgia. We can see how mayors typically function. But in the main, it's going to be the mayor presides over the meetings of the city council. The mayor only votes in the case of a tie. The mayor, you have to think about whether you want your mayor to prepare your budget or not. Sometimes the mayor does prepare the budget in some cities. Sometimes the city manager does that. But you have to think about whether you want the mayor to do that. So there's certain powers that the mayor, the appointment powers, and those appointment powers, sometimes it's only committees and boards and commissions. Other times it's recommending a department head or a city manager that has to be approved by the city council. And so that's a more robust power that a lot of mayors have, even in a weak mayor system where the mayor nominates the city attorney, nominates the city manager, nominates department heads, and that has to be approved by the city council. And so there are different ways we can go. But, and I'll state my opinion, because I'm not going to put it that close to the vest. I do think that we have now created an inept mayor. And I think that as the only official that's elected citywide, I think we deserve better than that. I use the word we because I live in District 5, but I mean, we need to at least have and we have to get beyond creating an office for the person who currently occupies it. I mean, so it's not about who's there now, it's about, who's going to come after, and do we have a functioning, working charter that's going to be a good document that's going to govern our city for years and years to come. And I do not believe that what we have now does that, and I do think it was an overreaction and we overcorrected.
I want to make a comment because I was involved in the passage of the original charter. And one of the flaws that we saw even before was the mayor being the supervisor of the city manager. That was one big issue. And then you can debate on whether or not the mayor's vote was an issue. Councilman Fye says, he puts two bullets. He says, one, he would like to maintain the tie-breaking power of the mayor. But at the same time, he comes back and he says he'd like to see a veto. It should be an either or.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
It should be an either or.
Yeah, you can't vote.
Can't vote
You
and
can't
veto.
vote and veto.
No.
Either vote or veto. And if you have a veto, then the council just has to get a supermajority to override your veto.
Right.
Okay. I think we talked about this before. The vote was kind of a backdoor veto where if there was a tie among the council members, the mayor's vote could break the tie. Okay, we didn't have that a lot in the previous administration. It was kind of like the mayor said it kind of went. But I believe that a veto, I prefer a veto over the vote.
Well, let's be clear though, voting in case of a tie as well, because the mayor, so it could be a circumstance where the mayor votes to break a tie. Now, I can't imagine a circumstance where the mayor would then veto.
Right.
Something they
Yeah,
voted for.
yeah, somebody could, because right now, you would have a situation where a tie with a non-voting mayor is the equivalent of a veto. basically, mayor can't vote, it's
Mhm.
vetoed, and if he did have a veto, he'd have vetoed it anyway. So I think you either veto or vote makes more sense to me. And tie breaking, kind of like the vice president. In the case of a
Mhm.
tie, you get to go ahead and cast your vote because the people have spoken, but now in theory, all the people have spoken
Yeah.
because the mayor is elected citywide. I mean, that's how I view it.
Uh-huh, yeah. The only thing I was saying was that so you're saying a vote only in the event of a tie and also have a veto?
No. I'm saying a vote only in the
Only in
well,
the way it
actually,
is now.
actually, I think I agree. The vote only in the event of a tie, but see, I don't know how we get to the veto situation. If there weren't a tie, then
Yeah, if it was 3-2,
3-2,
and the mayor's vote was not required,
right?
but then the mayor disagreed with that legislation.
Yeah.
Now the mayor could come, and that's the way it works. And City of Forest Park has a very similar situation
Right.
where the mayor breaks ties, but the mayor also enjoys a veto power. And so, and so the mayor's gonna, people, that's a lot of power for one person to wield. But, yet again, that's the only person that stands in front of every Stonecrest resident and says, vote for me. Everybody else says, well, here, District 1, elect me, District 5, elect me.
Right.
One person stands before all of us.
Yeah, that's why I
But
think so.
I was-
Yeah.
The only thing I would want to add to that is even though like the council members represent a segment, that whole, it takes all of those segments to make up the whole body.
You're right.
So that's why, I think that, them having a tiebreaker vote, is okay. But then the added veto gives it a little bit too much power.
A veto power is rare. I will say that. I mean, I would probably say that, most mayors in the state do not enjoy a veto power. And so that's something that we would have to think about. Now, a veto can be overridden and, and it would take, more than a simple majority to override a veto. And I would, so we should consider a veto power very carefully, because that is a lot of power to wield, even though the council has the power to override it. We need to think about that. And, most times the veto has to be in writing. I've seen it in the charters. You have to state the reasons for the veto, and that gives the mayor a platform to say why he or she is vetoing this piece of legislation. And that has a lot of influence with constituents. So now all of a sudden the mayor's expressed reasons for the veto, and councilmen's phones are ringing. Yeah, the mayor vetoed that, and I don't think y'all should override it. But those reasons sounded really good to me. So that's something to consider. And, I don't necessarily advocate for veto power. I just think it's something we should consider very, very carefully.
Right now, I agree. I happen to, as I was looking at that issue of the veto, actually that determined what the veto power to me. I think if we go that way, I would be inclined to say that the mayor has to give a reason for the veto power, so that, because again, if he's elected citywide, we can have, if the populace says that was a stupid reason, then we won't have that mayor anymore. And if the populace says we think that's a great reason, then everybody.
Or the populace says that, we don't like that reason, that could flip another city council person.
Yes.
To then override the veto.
Right, exactly.
So if I see that my constituents are actually in support of this measure that the mayor vetoed, even if I voted against it the first time, I may reconsider, because now the mayor has caused more public awareness and more public discussion. And that may change my mind.
So we'll think about that.
Yeah. Think about also the timing on the veto. City council votes and approves a measure Monday night. The mayor typically has 48 hours or some period of time to veto. Our legislation is going to be delayed during that period of time. It cannot take effect until the time period for the mayor's veto has run. And so, so there may be a delay in the effectiveness of legislation. And that might be a big issue, that might be a non-issue, but it's something to consider.
Right, but I'm not sure how much. I mean, unless you have some experience, somebody can tell me. A 48-hour, 5-day delay. Let's go 5 days. A 5-day delay absent an execution. I can't quite really envision how that would, how that delay would affect the operation of the
Well,
city.
maybe if it was like a moratorium, we want to do a moratorium on pawn shops or whatever. And, you know, unless this doesn't become effective, then between the vote and the period for the veto, we get 15 applications for, you know, and now they're kind of in the queue. And so I mean,
Right.
so we may have to carve exceptions and be thoughtful about how we would work that time period. You know, but it's just something, it's not a reason not to do it, it's just something to think about.
Right.
How- that's-
And was that in the original charter, by the way?
No,
The-
there was no veto in the original.
Okay.
The original charter had,
It's the superpowered mayor. And
yeah, they had basically a mayor who could vote on everything. And ran and chaired the meetings. And the underlying ordinances, to, at least to me, didn't seem clear enough as to how the agenda could be constituted. The former mayor asserted that it took so many council members to override or to add something to the agenda or to change something on it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it still basically lent itself to the superpower mayor.
And then, because we only have 5 council members, the mayor could basically cause something to pass or not pass by splitting it, where you just have 3-3.
You got a 3-2, and then, well, yeah.
Well, I'm saying,
you
like,
got a
it would be
3-3.
5, with just 5 council members, you would always have a majority on the voting, you know, on how they did.
Yeah.
However, if all council members voted, and say, it's, you know, 3-2, the mayor didn't want that to pass, vote,
Mhm.
and
Somebody-
make it a,
Yeah,
and it's a
Somebody
five
might,
state.
might sustain and not vote.
It
Right.
fails, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And is there, just out of curiosity, is it permissible or workable to give the mayor veto power, not to get too micro, on certain issues? And then the vote, like, on matters of affecting this, the mayor can vote. And then on matters affecting this, the mayor has veto power. I mean, or, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I can see that because a lot of times, it could be on budget matters or on this or on that. And you could cherry pick it.
Right.
And not a general veto power, but a limited veto power in certain areas. And so that may be something that you would consider, so that would be possible.
Yeah, some stuff came up with Mayor Cabo when it comes to the budget. Who prepares it, who presents it, and then who does it belong to the past. Okay, so that's other considerations to make. And from working at the state and working in other public arenas, the legislature owns the budget. The executive branch or the management branch proposes the budget. They prepare and propose a budget based on their work plan. Okay, but the legislative body, whether it be the city council or whether it be the state legislature, they're the ones who finalize and pass the budget. Okay, so now, in a working circumstances, there's back and forth. There's an understanding that the mayor or the governor, or whoever has a right to run and govern and manage in the best interest of the city. And the legislature supports those initiatives, but puts the price tags and holds on to the purse strings as far as that's concerned. When I was working in the legislature, I very rarely saw the legislature completely cut something that the governor asked for. Okay, there may be some dealing back and forth on how much or how far it went, but I very rarely saw something completely cut out of a budget that the governor proposed.
Let me ask, I wanted to ask you, with other cities, in this, question for you, city attorney. When you have a city manager and, you have the mayor and council, typically who prepares that budget?
The city, I've seen more often the city manager preparing the budget and the mayor as part of the deliberative body is not really involved in the actual nuts of most preparation. The city manager does and with help from the finance director and that's generally their budget. Other cities, the mayor is about, I would say, probably the vast majority of cases, the city managers enumerated duty to prepare the budget.
And that's, I mean, that's why I was asking, I wanted to state it out, because for some reason I was feeling you got a, city manager, that more than likely, along with what you said, like the finance director, would be the people, the right ones that understand the numbers, the overall picture.
Yeah, you can't have a situation though where one person prepares the budget, another person presents the budget. So if you're gonna prepare the budget, you present it, but I'm not gonna present your budget. And so, so we need to have one person to do it all. But one thing I would also think about is, who sets the agenda for city council meetings? And you know, I've seen it in different ways, different places. A lot of times the mayor sets the agenda. The mayor, and that draft agenda goes out and the mayor has to get input from everybody on city council, and two council members can add an item to the agenda as a matter of right, or one person can just call and say, I really think we should put that on the agenda, and the mayor could or could not. Sometimes the city manager sets the agenda. We have to decide clearly who's going to set the agenda, stone for say what's the best public policy. And so either way is fine, and I don't feel strongly about it either way. I've seen it done both ways. The mayor sets the agenda, city manager sets the agenda. I think it works fine. The only thing I would commit to you is that two council members should be able to get an item on the agenda.
Yeah, otherwise you have the mayor can effectively shut down.
Right.
And that's basically
exactly right.
how things have been going.
Right.
Because I believe the language in the charter was so ambiguous that our ordinances wound up being almost as ambiguous. So everything was open to interpretation.
Understood.
And so I think when you nail down the charter, this is whose duty it is to do this, and the ordinances follow suit.
And do they have within the charter, I can't remember right now, but I didn't look for that particular question. Whether there is a time frame within which, like the mayor or the whatever manager sets the agenda, but then it's like, hey, here's the pre-agenda, if you will. If you want to add something to the agenda, you have a time period before, so that you kind of cut off the fights that, hey, I want to add this to the agenda at the actual meeting. Well, no, because so we have a cutoff time.
We would have to, I would not, I'm not sure I would do that in the charter.
Okay.
I think we could by ordinance, do that, but I mean, we could, the one thing you want to avoid, you want your charter to be kind of big picture and not get into too much minutia.
Detail.
And so, now sometimes there are critical details that we have to get into, but I'm not certain that would be one of them, but I certainly think that we would have to by policy establish the cutoff for when the agenda has to be prepared and distributed to the members of the city council, and when they would have an opportunity to add items.
Yeah, because I want to prevent that situation from even if the charter doesn't set it, from becoming a de facto situation where you have stuff just being cut off by, as you said, we got two city councilmen want this to the agenda, and the mayor's cut it out. So, all right.
Can I have a point of order? Where we were at Councilman Five had one.
Councilman 5,
Okay, where we
Okay.
at?
that's where we were.
Okay, so,
We got
Now you're
distracted,
here.
we got pulled off.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, we were discussing Councilman 5.
Oh, Lord, Jesus.
It's a good thing.
Well, let's just say I raised my.
So, we've gone through ABC. We had, comments on section 3.01, powers and duties of the mayor. Creating a new section 3, returning the chairing of the council meetings to the mayor. We kind of talked through that. Maintaining the power of the break, in council meetings. So tiebreaker in the council meeting, and reauthorizing, he says reauthorizing, but authorizing veto power for the mayor for all ordinances to be accompanied by public letters to both council and constituents under a new subsection. So that was kind of the mayor would have to submit a veto in writing stating their reasons.
And that would be an add-on.
Yeah, and it will be public. So,
Yeah, and I would like to weigh in on that, just for the record, that another reason I think that will be important is that 3 or 4, 5 years from now, someone else is sitting here. They'll have a perspective. Other than that, it was vetoed. they would have the ability to understand the reasoning behind that. So
Mhm.
just for documentation,
Yeah. Yeah.
reasons, I think that's why it would be important as well.
Mhm. Because it, of course, it could be not the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Right.
Something like that. And so, yeah.
All right.
So, moving on. Following changes to the mayor pro tem. Okay, for in section 2.09, meetings, oath of office, and mayor pro tem, amend the subsection to indicate.
Hold on one moment, let me get
Okay,
there. Okay,
2.09.
2 point, oh, I'm sorry.
And that's on page 18.
Okay,
And he was saying amend subsection C. Okay, which is at the bottom of the page. To indicate if both the mayor and the mayor pro tem are not present, shall elect a temporary chair to conduct business. And the chair will be a non-voting member. So just to explain, if the mayor is absent and the pro tem is absent, but we still have a quorum, the chair, the council would elect a temporary chair. But that temporary chair would have no vote
Or veto.
or veto.
We have to be careful though, because it takes a certain number of votes to pass any measure.
Right. So I think that we would be below. Because the pro tem out and the mayor out gives you 4 people present. And so then if that's a non-voting member, you only got 3 people.
Exactly.
Vote.
Yeah, so that doesn't necessarily,
It would have to be unanimous. Anything with less than unanimous vote could pass.
yeah, because if you had everybody present, then you would need what?
No, it takes 4 votes to pass. a
It
measure.
takes 4 votes to pass.
Yeah.
And so if you only have 4 present, then you'd have to have a unanimous.
Yeah. So the quorum, and so this is where I get confused with it. Because you have a quorum that's a particular percentage of the full body. And then you have quorums that say of members present.
Well, unless some charters say it takes X number of votes to pass any measure.
Mhm.
And maybe we do away with that. And it's a majority of a quorum. So what, and we could define a quorum as 3, 4, 5, whatever we want to define a quorum as, but it takes a majority of a quorum to pass any measure. And I think that's clean, as opposed to saying it takes 4 votes at all times to pass any measure. We might only have 4 people there.
Well, but I think this was something was discussed, or talked about in a previous meeting we had early on. And about this, how many, votes to pass an item. And I recall, like, my concern is that, say, if you don't have, X number of members there, and then you just allow the people that's present to vote, and that passes, it could not be, that could wind up not reflecting the will of the majority of Stonebridge.
But we,
And that's was my concern about voting that way.
Well, I'm looking at the charter now, in section 2. And this has to do with the quorum. 3 council members shall constitute a quorum. It shall be authorized to transact business for the city council.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's 3. So now, if you got a quorum of 3,
I'm
But
saying
see, that's what
2
I'm saying,
votes.
that to
would be the
transact,
majority of the quorum.
business for the
Right.
city.
Yeah, that's,
so this speaks directly to what LaShawn was saying.
yeah.
You could have 2 people passing an ordinance.
Right,
Or yeah, I've
out of
seen,
5 districts.
I've seen it where it was that, and they take a vote to fire the city manager, because now the other people are gone.
No,
Yeah,
like
I got you
they
now.
go.
Oh, it's a nice night. Your people picked the wrong night.
Especially like around the holidays. We'll be in there. I'll be in too.
Right, the 2 people making a decision on behalf.
So we do need to look at this. We need to look long and hard at forums. We're not gonna make a decision tonight, but we need to have a discussion, some in-depth conversation and deliberation. I believe you're right.
That's, I mean, I just see that
Mhm.
is very, a slippery slope.
And along those lines, my other question is is it possible to limit the type of things that can be voted on with that type of a funky form?
I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend, raising the floor on four
Okay,
and saying that a quorum is at least four
okay,
people or members. And,
no, that makes more sense.
Mhm.
yeah, and now, I mean, we still would like everybody to be there, but, I mean, people's business has to go on at some point.
Yeah.
So, having a four-person
Mhm.
council member forum,
But what do we do if we have a problem with getting that quorum? I mean, because the people's business has to go on.
well, at some point you have to, and there was a provision that got amended in the charter about the number of absences they can have, and so that went to court, so I mean, it's a whole mess, but, I mean, people have, I mean, obviously, people take this seriously, they're elected to an office,
Right.
take an oath, and come to the meetings. Things happen from time to time, and everybody can't be at every meeting, but habitual absences, I mean, I think we need to address that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm focusing on, is the idea of somebody being habitually absent, being purposely absent, whatever. I mean, sometimes it's just a strategy. I mean,
Mhm.
and I want to make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
And I-
know, but
a little
the thing,
leery.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, a little leery about it being an even number though. Usually it's always an odd number.
We have an even number of city council, though, we got 6 people on.
You
city
got
council.
6 people.
Only
Well,
five.
Well, no, it's
But
only
only
5
five,
council
'cause we
members
vote.
voting.
And just so I can, let me just throw something else into there. The very next section that Mr. Fire addresses is section 210. And also in my conversation with the mayor, she agrees, amending section 210 to remove the mayor from the court. So since the mayor doesn't vote, mayor shouldn't be part of the court.
Should be part of the forum. I agree.
Wait a minute, but then we talked about the
The tiebreaker.
council,
Oh, what?
about, the, calling the meeting and chairing the meeting.
Mhm.
You saying that them heading the.
Yeah, but that's just the basically ceremonial head. You run the meeting. You may make the agenda. And then you get input from city council on the agenda. You chair the meeting, but you have no vote in the meeting.
Okay, so we're saying, okay, they will be the chair, the mayor is the chair
Chair.
for it, but they would not be considered as a part of the core.
Four. So if the
Okay.
mayor and 3 council members show up and the quorum is 4, there's no quorum.
Right. but the mayor-
Right, that's okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Is that the quorum will be determined based on the council member,
On the voting council member.
voting council.
So only voting members of council can vote, can count.
So in the
Okay.
quorum, it
That was-
says the mayor should only vote in the event of a tie vote of the
Mhm.
council,
Right,
right? But
Yeah.
right now, she has no vote, or the
She
seat.
can vote in
and
a
if the
tiebreaker.
quorum, if it was 4, say if it was 4 and then 2 voted one way, 2 voted the other, then at that meeting, the
She
mayor
could-
would cast the vote.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because the second sentence does say, the mayor shall only be counted toward the making of a quorum. So that's basically the only, we count the mayor to make the quorum.
Yeah, but we still have
But we
that same
still-
situation.
We still got the same situation because, mayor can.
Mayor can't vote, and you have the ones that show up, that want to fire the city manager.
Yeah.
And it's like, mayor's like, no, and they're like, bang, they're out.
Yeah.
So we gotta, sorry, somebody's foot on this stepping on.
No, that's.
Okay, cool.
I can tell you that just from observation, I used to be at all the city. This is kind of where the heart of the problem was. The procedure in the council meeting, what constitutes a quorum, what powers does the mayor have? What powers does the city council have to affect the agenda? And then of course, we had a big thing, who owns the budget? Okay, and so those were big
kind of watershed moments in the life of the former charter that led us to change it. So, those were the big things.
So we just have to do what we can to make certain that the people's business goes forward.
Goes forward.
Irrespective
Of who's in office,
who's showing up, and who's in office or who's
or
showing up.
who's showing up.
Yeah, we're making
Right.
sure the business gets done.
And if the business can't get done because not enough people have shown up, that's a different problem,
Yes. Okay.
My thoughts is what when you're saying about the budget piece, of who owns the budget? Because there's a city manager, one would think that would be part of.
Our
their-
charter says the city manager.
Okay,
Our charter says the city manager, the current charter says city manager with input from the mayor. Okay, but the city manager is who comes up with the budget, and like I said, that makes sense.
yeah,
They're responsible for the day-to-day management of city affairs. So that makes
In concert with it.
sense.
But even that concept is not even explained necessarily. In the nature of what I do, I'm like, what does that
Right.
even mean? Hey, I got a budget. Okay, let's talk about it. No, I just told you, divide. I'm just trying to avoid, again, I'm just thinking of, I think for the divorce and not necessarily the great marriage.
But
you know?
it's kind of more like, the President of the United States will nominate, federal judges with advice and consent.
Right.
So, I mean, and you see that take a lot of different forms, right? I mean, what does that really mean? The advice part, I mean, you don't have to listen to them, but it generally doesn't.
Yes, so you want your nominee to be confirmed.
Right.
And generally, the senators from that state tend to pick them, and the president says, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Might as well that.
Sometimes they say, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
But Mr. Chair, let me, Brown's point, are we gonna propose to do a draft on some of these? Because I mean, we have a lot of ideas, but are we going to draft them in for our full consideration or, because I guess we could talk about all the particular comments. But I guess we need to have a plan for, we're gonna do this or we're gonna do
Yeah.
that in the process.
And that's what I'm talking about with the subcommittee, work, because we can't do all of that in these public meetings. We'll have to boil these stuff down and get them into, I guess, legal form, set at least the sections, have the sections revised. We're gonna have to do that. I believe we need to do that kind of stuff, kind of often. We need to have 2 or 3 groups of us that come together over certain sections to deliberate and put these things in a format that we can then hand over to the city attorney. Okay, so that's it, because he would have, I would prefer that he says, okay, this is in proper form. This is in proper form to go into a charter or to go into a piece of legislation, and then we vote to amend the charter with that.
And when are we talking about doing that? Because I'll be honest, this week was a ridiculous, last week was a ridiculous court week for me, so I still need to talk to, I know we've got one council member's thing, but I've got my council guy, and then I guess there are a few other people that got to be talked
Yeah.
to. So before we do that, so when are we talking about the time frame on putting all that in as you want to call you Bethel? There's a Winston Bethel as the judge.
Yeah.
I know Winston.
Mr. Denmark.
Yeah, I would like
I'm
to,
better.
I'll get that to you.
we've already got people questioning whether or not we can get something done before. We started this in July, we haven't been able to follow up, lack of form, and then September completely been blown up. And now we're here and we're just starting to get into we just passed our bylaw. However, I think that we're a bunch of smart people who are on top of these issues more. I would like us to get some offline work done. I would like to see us have things in front of Winston in order to amend at a final November or initial January of December. That means that we will have to spend a lot of time weekends working on some of this stuff. So while it's what I would like to do, I've got other commission members who also got time and obligations.
to their families and everything. So, we weren't able to put together a timeline as far as, that was something that we would have done, previously. So I just really need to, ask how realistic it is for us to start having amendments in front to present to Winston, so that we can start voting.
I'm gonna just, be I guess, the voice of, doom and gloom. That seemed like a very aggressive, timeline. I mean, because we're right here at the end of October. And then you have, Thanksgiving in November. So I'm just trying to see, like how, drop dead is that, as in trying to have things done by this November, December.
So consider this. State legislature runs on what's called a biennium. Okay, that means that when you drop a bill at the start of biennium, we just had elections, so we got a biennial starting in January. Any bills that get dropped in January are good for 2 years. Okay, they're good for 2 legislative sessions. Okay, so every bill that's dropped at the beginning of biennial has 2 years on the docket, so to speak, to be passed. So if we have a bill that's dropped during this particular session, we still have 2026 session to get it passed. See what I'm saying?
Well, hold on, well, we have till 2026 to make amendments to what we initially proposed.
No, I would say that we need to have our charter bill. We were trying to drop our charter bill prior to this coming legislative session in January.
Right.
Okay, if we can't have that ready in order to drop at the beginning of the legislative session, if we can have a bill dropped during the legislative session, it may not get taken up during this session,
Right.
but it can be taken up in 2026.
Okay, and understanding that, that's why I would tend to agree that getting it done by December is probably just way too aggressive, because we gotta have time to talk to the council members, create any contribution from the public, discuss, fire off questions to Winston over here, and then revisit it and then kind of shape form it. So I do feel if we had the same amount of time that we lost superimposing the next year, so that might take us to February.
Yeah.
Or early March, then that, because we lost September, we haven't had a quorum for some of the other months, so we're kind of behind. We probably be much further ahead of the game. Right now. So I'm just saying, if we just put ourselves back on that same time frame, that works for me. Because again, if we get it in this legislative session, we still got 2 years. And that's what we're trying to get done. So I think December is a little too aggressive in my.
Okay.
Or we can prioritize and say, we want this item, and this item to go, what's prioritized, what is extremely important to make the charter better, to be a working document in progress.
I had the exact same thought.
Yeah, I mean, we may not can change the whole charter, but we can change the pertinent things that the mayor wants or our council person wants to be prioritized. And that can be, and that's to be more easier pie to eat than
The whole charter.
the whole charter.
The
So-
only downside, Mr. Brown, is that we would, I think the mandate is to go through the entire charter,
Mhm.
and it may be areas that elected officials hadn't thought of, or hadn't prioritized, but sitting around this table and subcommittees, you can say, well, that's horrible in this obscure portion of the charter I think that, we could kind of prioritize certain things and move those forward. But but we may regret that down the line and say, I wish we had changed that
Doing this whole process.
as well, yeah, so just, it's kind of when you go under the hood, kind of want to fix everything, because like, when a doctor opens you up, he ain't gonna stitch you back up until he
Yeah.
gets it all, so.
Yeah, because I don't meet with, her until November 4th. So
Mhm.
that puts,
Mhm.
that's when she's available.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you gotta go on their schedule as well. So that puts me, what, 2 weeks out, 2.5 weeks out? You follow what I'm saying?
I think we got a good start, and I think that the thoughtful, deliberate approach is to, just try to get it before signing die
Yeah.
in this session.
Get in the hopper, yeah. Because one, you also gotta, another thing you have to look at is the legislative appetite. One of the things that I've heard said randomly, we already changed the charter 2-3 years ago. Why are we changing it again so soon? And so if we do send in the priority and we find that we have other issues that need to be addressed, how long do we have to wait before the legislature is ready to take that up?
Because it would just be the frequent charter changes.
Yeah.
Changes.
And you hear that, and I'm gonna just be honest with you, the Cobb County and entities within the Cobb County, we tone a lot. Just because we are who we are and they are who they are.
Mhm.
And so I would prefer that we do a comprehensive job.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, and, there's a lot to be considered as far as that's concerned. These major issues that we think are holding back the city from progress. But at the same time, you gotta consider the process itself and how our elected officials work things through.
So will everybody send their notes to their person, to each other on this board?
Yes,
Okay,
we have open communication electronically.
okay,
We just can't, just like any other public body, we can't meet together with a quorum
okay,
outside of a public meeting.
okay.
But I'll ask Winston, actually, when we came together last time, I asked Attorney Denmark, are we able to email each other? So, yeah. Are we able to meet with each other in groups of 3? Yeah. So, all those things are okay for us to do.
So we can't, as long as you're not meeting together either on Zoom or whatever in a quorum.
Correct.
Although Zoom technically doesn't even kick it into quorum rules, but that's another story.
Or we can meet
Yeah.
via Zoom.
Yeah,
But could all of us meet via Zoom?
no,
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Even though Zoom doesn't count for
Right.
quorum and the other purposes, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing behind public meetings and all that is that we don't get behind closed doors and manipulate things and agree on how we're gonna vote when we get out. in public.
I left my charter, but I did have a question. I know you wanted the council thing, but it pertained to I had marked it up and I left it. But it was just about the, different section deals with the terms of office. I think, what was it, section, 2.02 or something like that? I don't know. It was one section in there. I was just trying to, I think it's 2.02. I might be wrong on that one, but I just had a question about
2.02.
2.02.
There's discussion and dissent among. There's disagreement.
There's disagreement.
There's disagreement.
Okay, well, then I'll wait to hear their disagreement before I.
I mean, the disagreement is that you have some members of the city council who believe that term limits should only apply to the mayor and not city council. Kind of like it is in the state and in the national government. You can send people to Congress and the Senate as many times as you want, but the president can only serve 2 terms. You can send legislators to the state house as long as you want, but governors can only serve 2 terms. So there is precedent for the executive branch being term limited, but the legislative branch not.
And I wasn't even clear as to whether the way the term limits were set, it's spelled out here, whether that still left room, like you just leave office early in term because it's like no more than 2. There was some language in there, I maybe one of the old, but I really went through and I was like, wait a minute, it seems like you could leave and then come back. Like no more than 2 consecutive terms, but a term is.
Yeah, you can leave and come back.
Right.
Like Maynard Jackson.
Yeah.
You talking about number?
You can serve
two?
two terms,
Right.
Yeah.
sit out a term, but he
And
sat
then
out two
come back.
terms,
Right.
and then he came back.
Right.
Andrew Young. did
Yeah.
too.
So, you know,
And that was my question, was that, is people fine with that, or people like, because, you don't want to be like, mayor for life, you know what I mean? Or, just take a little vacation and come back. I'm not saying that. But that sort of seems what it kind of becomes a little fiefdom, if you will. It has the potential. So I wasn't sure if that was an issue.
and that's kind of a city
Yeah.
issue, because I've never seen that happen on the state level. I've only seen it happen on the city level in the city of Atlanta, where you have a mayor can come back after sitting out the requisite.
Right.
Well, Vernon Jones tried, he
Yeah,
served 2 terms, and then he was out,
yep, and he tried to come back.
re-up, but he
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, because I was leaning towards no. That was my thought process,
Mhm.
but I wasn't sure if you said it was a disagreement. I wasn't sure if it was. And I'll talk to you.
Mhm.
Council members.
Yeah, talk to your council member, but I understand that there was, few council members who wanted, no term limits on city council, but term limits on. And I can see that,
but
when you
that's-
have a strong
that's
mayor.
number C, I think.
When you have a strong mayor who runs the budget, who runs everything, like the CEO of DeKalb County. All the they only pass legislation, the commissioners pass legislation and pass the budget, and the CEO is strong.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see in those situations, because of the accumulation of power and relationships in the executive branch, you gotta pull that person out of there after a certain number of years, or they gonna be a big thing. Okay, but the logic on the other side is that the constituents in the districts can feel like this person represents my interests better than anybody else. They don't have real power under City Hall, although they do have influence. They can have outside influence. But the thought process is that a legislator cannot accumulate that type of power over the city government. There are exceptions to that, of course, based on personality,
Right.
but not based on legality, so to speak.
And I was also concerned, thank you for pointing out to me, subsection C, that the idea that you have two consecutive full terms of mayor, but serving of a partial term shall not count as a service of a full term. So I wasn't sure if that allowed, you just leave early,
Right.
and then somehow or another come back again, so you.
I think that got thrown in. That was my opinion, that it got thrown in because our initial terms of office, I think the mayor and half the council had 2-year terms. Okay, in order to set the cadence that half the city government is up for election one time and the other half is up for election another time. You had people who ran in 2017 and had to run again in 2018. Okay, or not 2018, in 2019, because our elections are on odd number of years. So you had people that were elected the mayor, and I want to say the odd number districts or the even
I can't
number,
remember.
the even number district. The mayor and the even number district are up for election 1 year, and then all the odd number districts, and that's 3 and 3. Okay, so the mayor and the even number districts ran in 2017, served a 2-year term, and then had to run again in 2019. And then the odd number districts ran once, and then they had a 4-year term. And, then went up 3 years.
Right.
So I think they were trying to give those people who served a 2-year term, they were trying to give them an opportunity to serve 2 full 4-year terms before their term expired.
Because we had like 2 years to get up and running. We had to get established.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Well, that's funny, but I was just immediately left out of me when I read it.
Mhm. Yeah. Because normally you're just talking about, full terms of, so it's like, what does not constitute a full term? I know that in the US government, the president has to serve so many, if the president serves more than so many 1,000 something days in office, that's considered a full term. If it's less than that, it's not.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so There we go. And then out of the question for you, Winston, is do we have in the other county, just in terms of your familiarity with the charters, how has that term limits issue been resolved relative to the mayor? But that's look at it, man. Gotta report to my criminal defense instinct, texture. But no, but the question is, how has that issue kind of been resolved? Like, are we in the minority now?
Oh, yeah, term limits are not common. Uh, Term limits are not common, and I don't have a lot of familiarity with how they, I can't think of any of my clients that have term limits, and I don't know if I've come across that. I've heard other communities have them, but that's not something I've encountered in my time.
Okay.
Like, to me, Tucker Harris' term limit is still a fault. Everybody has term limits. So you have some very effective people in office who can't run for reelection.
And their charter is new, because they're in the news.
Yeah, they year before us.
Yeah, and you have to think about term limits also. A lot of institutional memory goes out the door. I mean, department heads and staff turnover, now elected officials turnover. You got a whole bunch of brand new folk. We're still a relatively brand new city.
Reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, and so it's like, some people, I'm out of, don't call me for nothing. Y'all figure it out. All your pants. And so, so you want to think about whether you want to run off everybody that might know something about something.
We're a small city. We're a new city. We're not the city of Atlanta that's got this vast population of people who can come up and be qualified to be whatever. We're a small city. And we're new.
We're the largest in the county. I was gonna say, he's like, we're a small city. Yeah, compared to Atlanta, which is in Fulton County.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some other cities around the state, and we are a rather large city compared to a lot of them. Brunswick only has 18,000 people. But they're a very important city, and but what was that? Where was that?
Point of order?
Yeah, we were on. We are a new city and we're a small city. We don't have a lot of established traditions or processes, or we've done it like this for years. Why do we change it? It seems that, especially as this new charter evidence, we got a lot of reactions to some bad experiences, and so we've got to put together something that kind of gets us past all of that.
And one thing I would also say is, think about when Jacobs' contract ended and all of those folks and Jacobs left, and we were scrambling trying to figure out, well, how do we run the city again? Because Jacobs had done it for us. And I say that to mention the fact that institutional knowledge, and when that goes, then people who are left have to scramble to kind of figure out how to make payroll. I mean, how does the city work? And so, it won't be that dire with term limits, but I mean, it's the same kind of thing. And so, it's good to have people, because, oh yeah, a few years ago we did this, or we did that's value in having some institutional knowledge on the council.
But we also have people who are employed, the city manager, comptroller, or something. We have other people that are career.
Turnover in this city over the last couple of years.
Oh, and that's the thing I have not done. So.
Yeah, okay, we've had a lot of turnover. Yeah. So.
Is that faith?
No controversy.
I make a motion that we table E until we talk to our council. Our council person to get more update and communication. And then we come back, and talk about their issues. If, the terms is the issue, then we need to talk about what their concerns is with terms. If, the mayor or the council person wants us to address issues, let's bullet point those issues, and then we can narrow it down so that we won't be going so fast and everything. So
Yeah.
I make a motion that we table it, get with the person that you can communicate with by the next meeting, make notes of what you have to disseminate the information to each one of us, And then when we come back together, we can brainstorm what the ideas are that they want us to change.
Okay, so it's actually item C,
Oh, let's see.
presentation of charter concerns from the
Okay.
mayor and council.
Okay. see.
So we can table item C, we have a motion to table item C.
Second.
Mhm,
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second
mhm.
to table item C until we can meet with our individual, city council people.
Okay.
Because this was supposed to be presented to us by them,
Mhm,
as according to, the first meeting that we had.
mhm.
But now we gotta go after that ourselves. So we have a motion and a second
Mhm.
to table item C.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Ah,
Aye. Any opposed? No. So, item C is tabled until our follow-up meeting
mhm.
after we've met with and we'll make sure that it's after November 4th.
Okay, thank you.
After
Okay.
November what?
After November 4th. I already talked to the city clerk. The rest of October is kind of out. The only open date is Halloween. And I don't think any of us want to muscle back for that. And so the following week, the 4th would be the following week
Okay,
or over the weekend.
okay.
And so we can have that meeting, and she's gonna get some dates back.
Yeah, and if I can move, if we can move our meeting earlier, I'll make sure I let you guys know as well.
Okay,
Okay? 'Cause we definitely have a meeting on the fourth.
okay.
Okay.
So number C, item C is tabled. Update on stakeholder communications to the Charter Commission. I've kind of covered that in my email to you guys about, how do we get the best stakeholder input from the citizens. One of my main issues with the previous adjustment or the previous amendment to the charter is that it was very little citizen input. Okay, and so we want citizens and our business community to be able to advise us or let us know what their concerns are and what their priorities are. And I'll put in the letter to you guys, do you think that the fact that we have, public comments available to our meetings, is that enough? Or do we need to go as far as to have a meeting or a listening session from the public?
How much public participation do we get? And I say this having logged in on the Zoom. I tried calling in and I just
Mhm.
got stuck in some kind of voicemail queue and cycled around. Nobody ever pulled me into the meeting. And then at another lull in traffic, I logged into the video Zoom, but I took it off speaker and I spoke. But I don't know if y'all heard me. There was just a still small voice in the night saying, "Hello, it's me." And so if y'all didn't hear it, then I don't know whether the public is trying to talk to us and just not being heard by us. But at this point, I haven't heard anything from the public. Are you aware? Have you gotten any feedback?
But the public needs to be in person to give public comments, or they need to submit public comments to the city clerk.
Well, that's what I'm
But the
saying.
question is, are we actually live streaming? So the public can't see us
Right.
and hear us.
Oh, no, I can see you.
Okay.
I can most definitely, I was a
You can see
ghost.
and hear.
I could see and hear. I heard all y'all I heard you go through the agenda items.
Okay,
But I'm just saying, has anyone submitted anything in writing? I mean, have we gotten anything from the?
just the Stonecrest Business Alliance submitted us a letter that I read out loud.
Okay.
Okay, and, so that's one way to get in front of us, to send letters and emails. We were trying to work with the city council and city staff, if you recall. We were trying to get an email box set up, and we haven't heard back from that. So how do we get our public input? And so, it can go from having a public hearing. One public hearing, I think, would be sufficient. And then we have public comments and people can submit to the city clerk. That's the only thing I know that we can do, since they said they couldn't establish us a mailbox for the commission.
Well, I guess that's the question. I mean, it just seemed like there was some reservation with the mayor talking about security and hacking. And I'm just thinking that, maybe we need to, push back or ask again about that, because having an email box would be, would make it where they
Yeah.
could submit, it would be
Yeah.
in
And
electronic.
if Kirby's the
form.
only one who can access it as a secretary, then that should be sufficient.
Arguably, but I understood the mayor saying they had to go through the protocols here to figure out whether they would be able to establish it, because if anything got into the system, virus wise or whatever, it could, we paying thousands of dollars to, Russia or something like that. So I can appreciate them not wanting to do that. But there are ways to email and communicate with the city as it stands right
Yeah.
now. So I guess the question would be, which is quicker to get done? Taking the established channels and just saying, just make sure you put charter commission on there and we'll get it, and it'll come to the appropriate person and we can just, I'll call
Well, it
them.
worked today.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Isom came, she handed me the letter from the Business Alliance that she received earlier today. And it was here for the meeting.
That's what I'm saying. So see, that.
So,
that
I
needs to
mean,
work.
that,
So the city manager,
the city clerk.
city
City
clerk,
clerk.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the city clerk getting letters from the public or whatever is already set up, it's in motion already. That's what works for me.
I just have to say this, because this is what is so confusing or strange to me, that if you already have mechanisms of people being able to send electronic email, then it makes, no sense as to just creating a box that's specifically for the charter commission, that opens you up or make you vulnerable to hacking or, any kind of Russian spy attempt. If that's the case, they can do that with any of your email boxes. You're open to that just by being able to receive email.
I understand, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that process right now is, it comes in, she printed it out and gave it to you, as opposed to something coming in and we all get forwarded an email with a suspicious link, and now we're all sitting there going, hey, where'd this come from? I know in my office, I don't open, if I don't know you sent it to me, I don't open it. And, period. That just keeps me safe. So,
But usually,
but the logistics, I think, are going to be, I think is what, Mayor Cobble was talking about, the logistics and getting the proper approval and making sure it went through all the hoops. It just seemed to me that the logistics of that were more difficult than the logistics of emailing the city clerk and printing it off and we just get a hard copy or a fax copy or whatever.
there again, I heard what Mayor Cobble stated. My only issue with that is that because I am in IT, that's my background, and I know that the people that are supporting the city have to be filtering and doing the normal scan of, messages. And so that's why it's very hard for me to see how adding a mailbox is going to now open you up to something that you're already vulnerable to, just by, you receive electronic communication anyway to the city. That's why I said it's another account that there are certain things that should be already in place from the city's perspective, because they have somebody, supporting the network or what have you. It's normal to have different types of antivirus software running and scanning the electronic communications that you're, receiving.
Did she ever get back to us? Did she ever,
No,
did she
we
say she
never
was
heard
gonna,
back.
did she say she was gonna talk to the people?
And we never heard back.
One thing, comment that I would like to add, that once we determine whatever the pathway will be, if it's something we set up or something that is already established, I want to know, one, how engaged are we with the HOAs that are in the cities or in the city? How much interaction, engagement do we have with them? And the reason why I ask that question is because, to me, the most effective way to get stuff out to a broader audience is to maybe, even if it's just one address, connect with them so they can spread it among their particular communities, so that the citizens will at least know, because that's who knows what issues there are for the citizens,
Right.
But if we don't get the information to them where they can, because to them, they may just go to the HOA. But if there's an avenue now to where you can follow your concerns, we just want to make sure you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Essential.
I think, we ought to have something put out by the city communications department that, we are inviting comments from the public.
HOAs, I know in the beginning, the very beginning of the city, we tried to kind of get our arms around the whole HOA thing, identifying them in the district. But the HOAs, I believe, as far as trying to get in touch with them, we need to reach out to our elected officials need to support. They know how to get to HOA to get elected. So they know where the HOAs are. They know, the neighborhoods, they know the officers, because they gotta do that to get elected. So I believe we should be able to ask and assist from our elected city council members as far as, okay, can you share me your list, your HOA list? Can you share, yeah, so we can get word.
Because I'm HOA president, I'm gonna tell you,
That's a great plan.
it's a lot to do, and you get all, what gets priority is
Yeah.
bills, and then you start saying, hey, reach out to the community, look, man,
I've been there.
somebody's gonna have to do that, and so I
Yeah.
like the idea of getting the various district representatives to say, hey,
Yeah.
let your people know,
Mm-hmm.
in the same way that you listed a vote or a dollar, you listed a comment, and then, not that you must, but it'd be nice if you would,
Yeah.
because it's gonna impact all of us, usually. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
Yeah, we have a few
Well-
large HOAs, but we got a lot of
Town
smaller
hall
communities.
meetings, these town hall meetings, HOAs have, and they can share that information with you. I think that's the best way to get it out through the HOAs and
Especially you're not-
through town hall meetings.
Okay.
you probably don't have
That's
that.
where your grassroots are.
I mean, you're gonna have to have, I just say that because I live in a community, we do not have. So I noticed, city of Stonecrest is not completely covered with HOA.
Well, I'm
And
not saying
therefore-
that's limited to
Yeah.
that, but that is one way.
It's one way.
But
Yeah.
in addition to
In addition to,
other means, I didn't mean to, say that wasn't a good plan, but your HOA, I know our council has town hall meetings and share this information.
you got one Thursday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he always does that, and he sends it out to key people in the community and to the HOA president. So it's easy, to do, the
Mhm.
councilman can do it via technology, so it's the same
Yeah,
method.
but we need to ask it for the city.
We can also ask to put it in like the city, the
Yeah.
legal organ of it, the legal
legal
organ,
organ.
yeah.
As well as wherever, like, on Common Ground advertise this,
Yeah.
they posted this. Okay, so, our city communications department, I believe, just like they do for the comprehensive plan meetings and for the transportation plan meetings and for other issues that we have going on, I believe that qualifies for them to, put the word out in a consistent, organized way.
That's correct.
Okay.
But don't Common Ground have the city organ,
Yeah, they're still the
the
city
contract
organ.
now, so that, well, they should televise a lot, I mean, advertise a lot about
Yeah,
everything we do.
Everything we
Yeah,
do.
really.
Exactly, because I was asking, if we put it in the legal organ of the county, that would, or the city, that is literally, we're asking everybody,
Right.
so we're not even accused of,
right.
selectively ruling people out, like in a non-HOA community or whatever, so I think.
But I'd like to also see it on the city website.
No, I
I'd
agree.
like to see a banner
Yeah.
on the city website. I'd like to see posts in social media from the
Yeah.
city
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
to let them know that we're here, that we're looking for public input, and maybe we, the commission, don't have to establish something else or reinvent the wheel if the city and our elected officials get the word out. And tell them that at the very least, they can write the city clerk, they can write the commission on behalf of the city.
So you said website, posting, newspaper, and what was the other one? Did I miss one?
Social
Town
media.
hall
Social
meeting.
Social
Yeah,
media.
and the paper was the legal organ of the,
Yeah.
legal of the city.
Oh, Common.
Do we need to make a motion that we do that now? Like, or is it just something we just send her email and we leave her? Like, is that like an official action that we have to take? I move that we do that, but otherwise, I don't know if we need to have a motion.
I don't think so. Listen,
It never hurts to have a motion, but I don't think it's necessary.
It's not necessary.
unless you just want to be official.
Well, I'll be official. I move that we ask the city to publicize the public comment on through the legal organ of the county, the city website, and the social media.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so Mr. Secretary, if you be able to communicate with the city clerk.
Yeah.
So who should we copy on that?
City manager.
City manager?
CC city manager. Cause you know, I just hit reply all whenever y'all get emails from me. It's
Yeah.
just me hitting reply all.
We know.
So hey. So
That's
I'm
good.
so I'm
That's
gonna
good.
I'm gonna get it down.
All right. So E, schedule and approve the next meeting date. As I stated earlier, I have not received an email from the city clerk as yet. We spoke while she was on her way. And so I know tomorrow she has said that she will send me additional dates. Yeah,
So I make a motion that we table that until you get the updated information.
okay. So
I make a motion that we table it.
Second.
Right?
all in favor of tabling the scheduling and approval of the next meeting date until we get available dates from the city clerk? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, any comments, folks, or have we talked enough? Anybody has comments?
I think we did good.
Yeah, we made progress.
Okay.
We
All right,
got some
as a
things.
courtesy, Councilman 5, Councilman Washington, any comments?
3. Oh, no. He's fine. Is he?
5,
Okay.
number 2. He said FYE 5.
Oh.
Not 4, not like 4, 5, 4.
Oh no, as Moses Malone said, fo.
Okay, with no comments from our city council,
Council, I will say that first off, thank you all so much for doing the important work. There have been some, during this year, it's a testament how much you care about this community, how much impactful this work that you guys are doing now. Please know that, again, I am available. Want to make sure that you all have my email. It is tsyp@selfresga.gov. I know that I did make it clear that there were a couple of areas that I would like to see based on my experience as a citizen from someone looking at the meeting. And so as a citizen who sent the councilman, I would like to be able to provide that experience to you. As I said before, the first time was during the first meeting. If you have any questions, things like that, I will do my best to make myself available to you virtually and in person at my different spaces. And our resources are yours. If there are ways we can be helpful to you, please let me know. If it's reasonable, with reasonable, we'll do with reason that reason happens. That'll turn it back over to the check.
thank you, Mr. Councilman. All right, may we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those ready to adjourn indicate by saying
Aye.
all opposed. The ayes have it. We are now adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.